Hi everybody. So I'm back from the Camino de Santiago and I thought it's been a week since I got back. It's really time I sat and had a little bit of a kind of a post-mortem, a retrospective on the trip, how it worked out in this occasion. And as anyone who's following the blog knows, on this occasion, because of a bunch of kind of practical factors, this did not get turned into a Compostela on this trip, which is a minor disappointment, but in the end it doesn't really affect the experience I had or the meaning of that experience for me in any lasting way. I came back with a couple of practical ideas of how I'll do things a little bit differently the next time I make a long walking trip, and those are, firstly, check my shoes beforehand. I went walking in my trusty and long-lasting walking boots that I trusted implicitly, only to find out that they were on the verge of wearing out, that the soles did wear through during the walk, and that everybody in Spain and Portugal has smaller feet than me. I could not find a single pair of replacement shoes in my size in the whole Iberian Peninsula. So that's something I need to bear in mind next time. If I go again with the intention of taking serious photographs on the way, and that's very likely given the projects I have in mind and I'm working on right now, then I will by all means carry a lighter camera. That is becoming very practical with the new mirrorless cameras available, but it's going to sort of take me a little bit of saving to get that together. And in future, I am definitely going to schedule rest days, at least once a week. Last time I did this trip, I was in the final days of my 30s. I am now in my mid-40s, and it's still fine. It's still fine, but I am feeling, still a week on, like a little bit of tension in my Achilles tendons. I've got to be able to take rest days every now and then. But all of that said, it was a fantastic and beautiful trip. I thoroughly enjoyed having a different route to walk from the previous time. The previous time was also awesome, but a new and different experience of coming from Portugal, from Porto to Santiago, gave a very different landscape, a very different quality to the environment, to the natural areas, to the communities that we walked through. So I'm going to pop up some photographs for you to have a look at. First of all, starting in the quite lovely city of Porto in northern Portugal. I get the feeling that it's probably very crowded and a little overwhelming during summer tourist season. But we were there at the end of October, walking into the beginning of November. The tourist crowds had ebbed off. The city was certainly not empty, but very much back to having its own life, not the summer tourist life. And it was a beautiful city, one which I really would love to have more time to explore and enjoy. The other highlight of Portugal, apart from the really stunning countryside and amazing places we got to stay in, was the town of Ponte de Lima, which is kind of halfway between Porto and the border with Galicia. What a beautiful little town. It feels like a small town that is visitor-oriented without overwhelming you with tourist tat. Just beautiful, well laid out, welcoming little town. And of course, the walk from Valencia to Tui in Valencia in Portugal to Tui in Spain was my first on-foot border crossing, and I shared some thoughts on that a couple of weeks ago. Galicia, I still love. It's still probably my favorite part of Spain, probably because of the beautiful experiences I've had with walks to Santiago. Of course, Spain itself was in quite a tense state while we were walking there, having been caught between the forest fires that had affected both Portugal and Galicia, and now with the difficult situation concerning Catalan independence movement. Spain was a little bit tense in terms of people, but not terribly. And I mean, people remained warm and welcoming and wonderful. And I'm also very happy to have been going outside of peak tourist and pilgrimage season. I don't think that I would like to attempt another Camino during the July to September peak. Ponte Vedra, stunningly beautiful city. As a friend of mine, a former Camino buddy who's been commenting on these videos, did tell tell me up front that it's an amazing old town to explore. It's got wonderful character. It's got a kind of a bit of hippie, eccentric vibe, I felt. Lots of interesting places to explore and beautiful corners to photograph. And of course Santiago remains very, very special, even though, because of my leaking shoes and the terrible weather on the last day of my trip, I did take a taxi in rather than walking in. I did have an extra day to spend exploring. Got to spend a day and a half really enjoying that tremendous ancient city, the beautiful cathedral environs. The cathedral that is so different from what I'm used to, either where I come from in South Africa or in other parts of Europe, that has this overwhelming Baroque feel to it that would not be my normal kind of aesthetic, but just really works there. So yeah, that was the walk. It was a very different experience in other ways from my first Camino in 2013, which was from Burgos to Santiago across the Camino Frances across northern Spain. This time I booked a lot of private accommodation, and of course it was very off-season, so it was less of a social experience, and that's okay. Last time I made some wonderful friends. I formed a sort of coherent cohort of, some wonderful Americans that I met and remained friends with, some Australians that I met and have remained friends with, some South African expats living abroad who I met and remained friends with, so many interesting people who formed a kind of group that moved across the country together. This time I met some wonderful people, but we were moving at different paces. There was never a kind of stable group that formed. And so though I really enjoyed the people I met and the interactions I had, it was a very different experience in ways that worked for me. Because this time for me was much more about exploring my spirituality where I am as a Christian, a scientist, a spiritual being, and taking advantage of the meditative pace of walking and being able to look clearly at the ways in which other people around me, both locals living in the environment and other pilgrims, were experiencing and expressing their own spiritual lives. I came out with no great big new thing. I mean, you always take out what you bring with you, don't you? But with a happier and deeper sense of where I am on my personal spiritual life journey, and with a sense of commitment to carry on with aspects of that journey that I've begun in recent years, specifically with respect to my ministry role with the religious community I'm a member of. So that's been an exciting and beautiful experience, and I encourage anybody who's interested in this kind of experience, get in touch. If you don't get in touch, make a plan. There are tremendous resources. Do something like this if it's the kind of thing you think you're interested in. I have a plan over the coming years to start exploring different pilgrimage routes and different pilgrimage sites, and to write up and explore and discuss ways in which I experience those things, ways in which other people seem to experience them, and what it means to travel for a spiritual goal. So with that, I leave you with happiness and blessings, and I wish that you enjoy your day, your week, your life, and thank you for coming on this journey with me. I will be posting more videos next time I have something interesting to talk about. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.